and what they don't pay.
At the Global Investigative Journalism Conference, we asked some of the world's leading experts for their top tips when investigating stories.
And so assuming we were in a state with no state tax, we would put...
One of the key lessons is analysing company reports, essential to following the money, a cornerstone of investigative journalism.
That is an accounting measure.
Hi, I'm Дэвид Кей Джонстон. I'm a former president of Investigative Reporters and Editors, and I won a Pulitzer Prize when I was a business reporter at the New York Times for my coverage of how the American tax system really works as opposed to how the politicians talk about it. And I'm the author of a number of best-selling books on business and finance. I want to talk to you today about covering business and finance and how to do the best possible job for your readers, listeners, and viewers. First, when you report the profits of a company, always report the pre-tax profit, not the after-tax profit. The reason is that the tax line in a financial statement is an accounting measure. It's not the cash actually paid in taxes, which may be very different from the accounting measure. Second, ignore the press releases from companies when they report their finances. You want to instead report what they officially gave to the shareholders and to the government using generally accepted accounting principles. That's GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. Third, keep in mind that the duty of the directors and executives of a company is not to the shareholders in America and many other jurisdictions. Their duty is to the enterprise, to the company. The company itself is like a helpless baby. It has no mind of its own, has no capacity to do anything, and it must be cared for by the directors and officers. Fourth, one of the best places to find great business stories is in what's called the index to exhibits of the 10K form. Now in America, the annual report filed with the government and shareholders is called a 10K, and there's quarterly reports called 10Qs, but many other governments require similar documents. In the American 10K, there is a series of required filings. The 10 series in the index to exhibits, which is at the very end of the 10K, are contracts. So the CEO's contract, the contract with a member of the board of directors' daughter's company to supply helicopters, those will all be listed there. And sometimes, if you get the actual document, you can learn a lot. I have examined executive employment contracts that are in the 10 series of the index to exhibits in the 10K, where the lawyers wrote in the changes as they're negotiating. And you could actually follow the negotiations over pay and perks just from reading the written in inserts and the initials put on by the negotiators. So keep in mind, get a 10K or similar document, go to the index to exhibits, take a look at those, and especially take a look at the 10 series, which in the US is the contracts between executives and officers of the company or the company and other related entities. Fifth, always look at the consolidated financial statement, and in particular, the footnotes and the supplements to the cash flow statement. You will find there in American filings and those of many other governments, a line called cash paid for taxes. So while the company may have reported it paid X in tax on an accounting basis in its financial statement, down in this supplemental cash paid for taxes, you will often find a much, much smaller number, which allows you to say the company says that it paid, say, $1 billion in taxes, but the cash it paid was really only $56 million. Related to that is a second element in the supplemental, and that is the footnote on deferred taxes. Whatever amount is in the deferred line is essentially a zero interest loan from the government. I mean, just imagine if the taxes withheld from your paycheck, you could hang on to them as a zero interest loan, invest that money, and somewhere in the distant future, maybe when you're my age, you could then pay the taxes with no interest attached and keep all the investment earnings. In business and financial reporting, the most important thing to always keep in mind to benefit your readers, your listeners, and your viewers is report the generally accepted accounting principles numbers, the revenue, the profit, the expenses. Don't report the customized numbers that a company gins up for itself. Always report the GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles numbers, and you'll do those who follow your work a great service. I've lectured on investigative reporting all over the world, and in China, many journalists complained to me that they couldn't get information they needed about companies. Well, when I was in Fusan, China, which is a metal-bending city where they build air conditioners, I put up on a screen from an American document the business records of one of the biggest companies in Fusan, and it included the 10 biggest customers of this company and the percentage of their sales that each of these 10 customers represented. Don't assume because you don't have records in your country that there aren't records. The Americans, the Brits, the Australians, the Japanese all have filing systems, and there may be important documents and revealing documents already online. You just need to find them.